Hey, I have a question. Do you know what time it is? It is Feedback Friday. Let's look at the paintings we're going to give feedback on today. And later, we're going to talk about the circle composition. We have some really incredible paintings, and we're going to see if we can make them better, or maybe we can't make them better. So we'll find out soon, but you're going to want to make sure you take a look at these and see what you would do to make them better. Okay, so when you watch this, I want you to see the problems in your own paintings by looking at other people's paintings. And I encourage you to ask yourself, what do I see that needs to change? And as a matter of fact, I'd like you to go into the comments. When you see something, I want you to say, here's what I would do. I'd make this a little darker, or fix that. Or go in there and be interactive on there, right? This is how we learn. Learning is important by feedback. Or feedback is important for learning. I guess that's a better way to say it. So we can't see our own mistakes. We need that feedback. And when we see other people's paintings being critiqued, we're going to say, oh, you know, I do that too. I need to fix that. We want to be watching what's distracting the eye. Where's the focal point? Where's the darkest dark? Where are things going? And I personally find it's easier to learn about paintings by watching other people's paintings being critiqued. So let's get this show officially started.
It's Art School Live with Eric Rose. Now, here's your host, Eric Rose.
Welcome to Feedback Friday on Art School Live. We're here every weekday at 12 noon, and we are loving it. We love it. We started when COVID began, and we've just kept it going every weekday. It's exhausting, but it's sure a lot of fun to do it. Anyway, free art lessons, art marketing guidance, and feedback every week. And as publisher of art magazines like Fine Art Connoisseur, Plein Air Magazine, and newsletters like Inside Art, Fine Art Today, Plein Air Today, Pastel Today, American Watercolor, blah, 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 blah. It goes on and on and on. And me being a frequent competition judge, an artist coach, I have spent a lot of time painting. I might see some things that maybe I can improve in your paintings, or at least give you a different perspective and help you find something in your painting that you might want to change. My rules: be kind, be nice, don't destroy people. Everybody's at a different stage, and we want to make sure that we keep it positive, right? I couldn't paint. I felt like you had to have talent. And well, the reality is, I believed it. Everybody said, you don't have the talent that it takes. I had a couple of instructors tell me that. And you know what? I finally found an instructor who says, you don't need talent. You need a process. Let me teach you the process. And the light went off. I think there's a spider in my hair. If I die on camera, it's because of the spider in my hair. Okay, anyway, you can do this. You can succeed. You can learn painting, and we love it if you would try it. Don't ever give up, and watch 5 of our programs, and you'll get the confidence you need to do it. So anyway, this is only opinion. We're going to give feedback, and I can't get into the comments while I'm giving feedback, but you can get into the comments. Keep it positive, but make sure you say what you would do in there. If you want to submit paintings to me, go to streamlinepublishing.com/feedback. And if you make changes after hearing my suggestions, please send us the after so we can do the before and after and see how it went. Maybe we'll still make changes, right? Let's do this. What's our first painting? And we got some really good ones this week. This painting is a sailboat painting, and I start out with the black and white. So we're going to start out here and look at the black and white on this painting and see what is it that we would change. Well, the thing about a black and white is it's really hard to, you want to see what the painting is reading as. Let's start with composition. Let's go dead center down the middle and dead center down the other middle. And there's nothing dead center, and that's a good thing typically. You can make a dead center painting work, but it's more interesting typically if you have something a little different. So we're going to do a third and a third down. My line's a little wonky. And look here, this artist, Kate K, has her horizon line right on there. And that's really terrific. The other thing here is, where's the focal point? Nothing here. That's cool. Nothing here, nothing here. But this is kind of a focal point here. And so this is where we want to point things, right? If this is our focal point, then it can be off a little bit in this area. It doesn't have to be exactly there, but you want to kind of keep it in that zone. So look at what's happening here. This boat is pointing to that focal point. Isn't that nice? That's nice. But this boat is pointing to here. We might correct that. And let's ask ourselves, where's the darkest dark? Darkest dark in this painting is here, and maybe a little bit here. So this tree feels like it's not far forward. It's a little bit back. So I would probably not make that dark as dark there. I'd make it less dark. I'd look for a way to get a strong dark in here so that reads. And then whatever we're going to do in our focal point, I'd look for a way to get a strong dark in our focal point. And we don't know what that focal point looks like yet, but we're going to try and see what that looks like. Now, there's a big bright spot here. It's kind of hard to see in the black and white painting, and I think it's reflecting a bright spot here. It's kind of hard to tell because it's pretty bright over here too. And so what we're going to do is look at the color version and see if we can see something that could be improved here. Let's just go over to the color version right now. Let's see if I can find it. There we go. Okay, so here's what's happening. We've got this sun here and this bright spot of the sun here. But what would happen if we moved it over? Let's just take this sun and let's put it here like this, right? Now, I'm not going to put in all the stuff they put around it, but you get the idea. And then let's take this sun out here. All right. Now the sun is dead over the focal point. Now let's take this reflection here and let's put it in here between these boats. And let's put some of it up here on there. And maybe we'll even just enhance that a little bit, get a little spot of white. That's not white, that's blue. Let's get a spot of yellowy light, bright light here. And now what's happening is this is really helping the composition. Again, we're going to move this out of here. And so now this is really good. We've got the focal point enhanced. And what I would do is I would enhance, we've got these trees back here. I would enhance the light on these trees back in here because they're really catching a lot of light. And now what's happening is you've really got a nice focal point in here. So we get some color in here and really enhance this area here. And it just makes it so much stronger. You see what's happening there, and you can put some of this color in there. Now your two boats are pointing towards the focal point. Now this boat is really pointing here, but it's not an egregious thing. If you wanted to repoint it, you probably could kind of just change it so that it goes there, and that would just be a simple fix. And then you don't have, that problem there. And that way you've got, you got both boats pointing in. I would throw some light on these boats. You've got light on them. Instead of being white, I'd throw some yellow light on them. And what that does is it feels like light. I would also, I think that this dock here in the middle is distracting. I think I would just take it out. We know that those boats are tied up or moored or something. And so I would just take this dock out. That's not adding anything. And I would look for a way to probably darken this over here a little bit. Now you've got a little bit of sense of light on here. That's okay. It's not distracting. I might look for a way to really enhance the light here. So it's like says, I'd make it a little richer, not quite so white. Look for a way to just really put, like a halo of light on here, and that would be good. So, and then, you don't have a lot of light over here. That's good. This tree here, if you want this tree to feel far forward, then bring it all the way down. So it feels a little bit more forward. I think it's nice. I think it frames things nicely. And you get a good strong dark up in front here, then you might put a little dark in here against that halo light. You don't need much. I would, the water's really calm, but if you've ever seen Egon Schiele's sailboat paintings, they're pretty amazing. And I would just look for a way that I could just kind of maybe do that just to make it interesting. I think just by doing that, it really makes a great painting. I would probably look for a way, this is going to be tricky but I'd look for a way to get a little bit of light on these masts. And then I would like to see a little bit of color in these boats. I just like to find a way to get a little color in things sometimes. I don't know what color. You can pick a color. Boats, I like reds in boats. And then, just get your shadows strong. I would avoid black, and it looks like there's a little black in here. So look for a way to get some, it's not black and a little bit of rich color on the inside of these boats. I think just in general, that would make a great painting. Now, the other thing I would probably do is, and this is nitpicky, and that means I'm out of time. I would look for a way to probably just get the sky. That I wouldn't do quite that intense, but maybe a grayer color. Get this sky a little bit darker in a couple of places, and that will help. Let's see if we can do this. That will help move this, make that light stand out just a little bit more. That's probably what I would do. Anyway, and maybe get some good darks over here, good darks over here. And by the way, to do a reflection is you do the reflection, you put a little, let's see if I can get the right color, put a little color on the side, and it gets a little lighter on the inside and a little yellower on the inside, and then a little white, a white in there right in the middle. And that's it. And then you can kind of put some of this light out here to the sides to make it feel like it's reading. Okay, good job on that. Anyway, Kate, A+. Okay, what do we have next? We have the Macallan, some fine 12-year-old Scotch. This is Rich Felton in Pennsylvania. Congratulations, Rich. Really beautiful job on this. I'm not sure what I would do with it. I love the composition. I like a lot of things about it. It's really nice still life. I like the fact that you've got the little bagpiper, you got the cork, you got the glass. And so this is kind of a hard one to fix. I'm not so sure there's much I would fix. Let's first look at composition. I'm going to just say compositionally, let's see, we got this. Compositionally dead center. We don't have any problems there. We have, if we were to go for equal thirds, you've done a good job. You've got your table right in the right spot. And really, this is the primary focal point of your composition. So I'm going to just say, let's move this glass over here and make it overlap a little bit and have this cork over here so it's overlapping the bottle. What you don't want to do typically is have these gaps in between here, because you want to, now you've done a good job with the soldier bagpiper. He's overlapping. And so I would just do that. I think that'll make a big difference. The other thing that I notice on this, Rich, and we'll go to the color version, but it feels to me like your perspective is off, and that may be the photograph, but what's happening is this is going down like that, and I don't think that would be real. I think it would be more like straight. And so your photograph might be distorting it. Photos do that, and especially if you copied it exactly. So I would just look for a way to get this feeling a little bit more straight, and that will help it considerably. And then the other thing is to work on edges. What's happening here is you have a lot of sharp edges. I'm going to go to the color version to make this point. The color version is nice. You got a lot of sharp edges though. So where do you want the eye to go? You certainly don't want it to go everywhere. I would say you want the eye to go to that sharp edge, and maybe a couple of sharp edges on this thing. But I would look for a way to soften up edges. So I get my softening tool, and I would probably go in and just soften some of these edges around here. It'll just make it feel more realistic. And soften this hard white line along here. And then again, we've got to fix that perspective problem. But if you soften it, now, you know, some paintings people will just kind of put an indication, like they might not fill in make it exact. So it just makes it, sometimes it makes it a little bit more pleasing. I would also say that I think the colors, we need something that's off, that something is off here. I'm not sure. So if we were to pick up this red, what would be the complementary of that red? Well, it would be probably a kind of a, if you go straight across the color wheel, it's going to be right in here. So I'm going to pick up some of this green. Bear with me here. I'm just going to say, what would happen if instead of making this blue, we make this tablecloth kind of a poker table green, and maybe even a little darker. It feels, the blue feels a little cool to me. And if you put this green in here against these reds, I think it just will read a little bit more pleasing. Now you've got this big shadow in here. I'm not, Rich, I'm not going to cover your name, but I would look and see what could we do here with this to make this, I think something like that might make it a little bit more pleasing to the eye rather than the green. And then you've got the blue background. It's kind of a blue background, and I'm not so sure what I would do with that. I think I would look for a way to keep it very neutral. So if you were going to do it blue, make sure it's kind of a blue-gray, and give it a little bit of variety. You've got a little bit of variety in it, but give that some variety in there. And then I think the other thing is we need a little bit more form on this bottle. I'm not sure how we get it, but I think we can just strengthen that. Whoa. And then let's just see here if we can fix this bottle. All right, just doing that makes it stronger. And you see how this looseness just kind of makes it feel a little better. I would look for, the other thing is your label is pure white, and that's really drawing the eye. So let's see if we can figure out what's going on there. Let's just make this a little bit grayer, and then we get to the light. It depends on what your light source is, but what if we just make it a little bit yellower, so that, well, that's a little bit steep, but maybe we just get a sense of, it's a little bit strong here, so we can get this right. The idea is we want it to feel like it's in light, and you could do that up here too on this cork. That's a bit strong, but the idea is to get the sense of the light is a light source that's got some color in it rather than pure white, and I think that would help it. Anyway, move this glass here, and I think it'll make it a stronger composition. I think overall it's really, really good. I'm being nitpicky. I like this. I like that. You ask yourself, what's the most important thing? You've got to ask that question. So the other thing is, you know, I really want to drink that, except I don't drink anymore. But I might just look for a way to enhance the color. Looks more like wine, but enhance the color so it looks like a really rich glass in there. So that gives you kind of a focal point, something like that. All right, good job. Thank you. What else do we have? Oh, this is the reflections painting. This is Joyce from North Carolina. Joyce, you are a rock star. Congratulations. We're going to go through composition here. First off, dead center. We're good. Let's say equal thirds. Okay, what's happening here is your horizon line is pretty high, and you've made this all about reflection, which I think is a really good thing to do. I might move this horizon line here, move it down just a little bit. That might help it just a little bit. But in the black and white, I'm having trouble reading what it is. And I think that this in here needs a little bit more definition. It's kind of bothering me that it's going up off the edge. And this, I know it's a tree, I just don't know what it is. This feels like it might be a mountain. I can't really tell what's going on back here. So I would maybe define that a little bit more. But this painting is really all about the reflections. Now, one thing to know is that reflections are darker than the object typically. So if you got a really good dark in here, then your reflection overall would be darker. Just by getting that dark stated in there and having that reflection ripple out a little bit, you know, I think that would strengthen it. Your darkest dark is this tree over here, and I think we need a good strong dark in here, maybe something up here. And I'm not so sure we need all of this. You know, we might just make this all about the reflection in here. But let's go to the color version, see what we can do with it. See here. All right, so where does the eye want to go when you see the color? Well, there's two things that grab my attention. First off, there's a spot of orange back here that's drawing my eye. Is that fall color? And then you've got this big bright spot and this bright spot here. If you have all three of these and this fourth spot, your eye doesn't know where to go. And so where do you want the eye to go? Do you want the eye to go to this pasture, or do you want the eye to go to this reflection? And this is reflecting what? This bright spot should be reflecting a bright spot on here, I would think, unless that's reflecting this back here, which would be logically be over here somewhere. So I think that this is where we need some work. I'm going to just suggest that we're going to play with this just a little bit. I'm going to take this sky and I'm going to define this tree a little bit. And I would probably make it bigger. I'm going to take that orange spot out back there because I'm not sure what it's there for. And I'm going to define this tree in here just a little bit more, put some sky holes in there. I'm going to take this mountain in the background. It's purple, and I'm just going to make it a little, same value. I'm going to make it a little bit bluer. I think we'll make it a little bit bluer still, because we need it to read like distance, and we need to separate that distance in here somehow. Okay, and I'm going to take that mountain and I'm going to just bring it over here so it kind of continues, right? So now we've got this beautiful pasture, but the pasture is kind of fighting the composition. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to mute this pasture back just a little bit. It's still there. You can have little spots of it. But I think if we mute that back, now the tree is standing out. Now what we're going to do is we're going to bring this reflection in here. And hang on, don't get freaked out yet. And we're going to just put a nice bright spot on this tree, maybe even a really bright spot on this tree to really draw attention to the tree. Now we're going to bring that bright spot into here. And then what you're going to do is to a reflection, you do vertical brush strokes like this, and see how that just makes it reflect really, really pretty. And by the way, we can take this color of this mountain, we can put some of that in there, and we can take some of this color in the background, we can put some of that in there, and that will help. And then, you know, I think this stuff over here on the side it's okay, it's not hurting it. And I would probably darken this. You've got a beautiful cloudscape in this, and it's really pretty. I would just darken it down in here a little bit, and then I'd go through and do your vertical brush strokes and look for ways that you can just make this feel very reflective. And that will make a big difference. Make this a little soft in here, make everything soft. I would probably bring the water over here a little bit so that it feels like we don't need all this stuff over here. It's not lending anything. And we can then enhance the sense of the feel of this, and then get a little line across it here and there, just so it feels like it's in reflection. I think, just doing that that helps it a little bit. But giving this some air back here, maybe a sky hole or two, I think it just will help it a little bit. Okay. So really nice job on that. Let's go to the next one. Oh, Amadine said this is her favorite. This is a beautiful painting. All right, this is 𝗪𝗵 in Canada. I don't know where in Canada, 𝗪𝗵. Canada is a big place. Okay, so looking at this from a black and white perspective, first off, we're going to see the color. We're going to see the perspective. Got nothing going on here. That's good. Now we're going to do equal thirds. And we have kind of our focal point in this equal third area. That's good. That's an A+. So good job on that. And we're really drawing the eye in here. From a black and white perspective, it's a little hard to tell what this is because it's very impressionistic. And so you've got a big, big dark black here, big dark black here, big dark black here. Where do you want to draw the eye? Well, I would say that these blacks are probably just a little bit, let's see if I can get this right. Hang on a second. So these darks here are just a little bit dark. I'm going to just, oh, what happened there? Okay. So I'm just going to maybe try to lighten those up just a little bit. Okay. Because I think they're a little dark and they're not receding quite as much as they should. Now you want to have a good dark when you're going to go against that contrast. So I would just do that. And then you've got some good darks far forward. I would just leave those alone. And I think that will help it. It's a little hard to read what this is because I think we need to get a little bit of dark on the focal point, which really is the house. So I would look for a way to strengthen the dark around that house just so that in a black and white it reads. Maybe figure out how to get a couple of branches or something in here. But let's look at the color version because that's where it really rocks. You know, this is really lovely. You've got this radiating light, which basically, if you look at the 𝗙𝗿𝗶𝗱𝗆 video, the Nocturne video, he talks about radiating light and the colors that you use, and it's very predictable. And you've done a pretty good job of that. You probably could fix this just a little bit. You've got a really nice radiating light, and probably, let's see if we can just make this a little bit lighter coming out. And then these aren't quite the right colors. A little bit lighter, and then they get a little bit orangier and a little bit more orangey, right? And then they get to a point where they start getting red, which they've done over here. And you know, so that's really well done. I think that's good. This feels, this light yellow in here feels like it's got a little too much white in it. I would be careful about putting any white in here. The only place you want to put white in this particular case is right here. Get a really nice white spot in there. And then if you have this feels a little white to me. So I just make sure that you've got some good chroma in there on that. And then, you know, some good chroma on your roof line and make that read a little bit more like a house. I think that will help it considerably. You've resisted the temptation to carry the light all the way out there. This is really good. You've got a little reflected light in here. That's good. I think that the only thing that would strengthen this a little bit more is to darken this sky. And, you know, this could be a Nocturne painting. And let's just try this and see what happens. We might not like it. We might ask ourselves why we would do that. But I think, you know, overall, by darkening the sky, the sky isn't competing with it. And I think I would even darken the corner even more and look for a way to really make this stronger. You could take this thing almost extreme dark and it would work, right? Because you know, those trees are still reading against the light of that background, that Nocturne. I think, look how yummy that light gets when we put all these darks in here. And you can really have fun with this. I love doing Nocturne paintings. One of my favorite things to do. And look at how that just changes the nature of this. You still have that separation, still have some sky holes in here. But the idea is that now it really doesn't compete with it. And that really, really makes it nice. I would look for a way also to get just a little bit of this red into this house, that reflecting that second tier color into this, I think that would make it really strong. And sometimes, you know, you can put some of these reds in these tree trunks and things to really enhance them, make it feel like they're hitting the light. I like it. I think it's really, really powerful. And you get a Amadine says A++. I say A++. You did a great job on this, Nima. You might be the winner. Okay, what do we have next? We have this boat. Okay, this is Paula Christian in West Virginia. Paula, this is really lovely. I can't tell from the black and white, but I think it's a watercolor. And I like it. I like the scale of it. When I first saw this painting, I thought, man, that boat is big. And by having this little man here and by having this smaller boat here, the scale of this boat is like giant. And I love that sense of this. And I like this composition. I think it's really interesting. But well, let's just go through composition. First off, dead center. Well, maybe the boat dead center, but you know, I think it works. I don't think you need to worry about that. If we go into our equal thirds, this kind of becomes your focal point. And I think it is, but this is a primary focal point or certainly a secondary focal point too. Your darks are pretty, your values are pretty good. Your distant values are lighter. Your darkest darks tend to be here, 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 here. These are a little less dark, so you've done a good job here. Got a good dark in here. A dark, dark, dark in here. So I think these are reading just fine. I don't think you need to mess with them. You might consider darkening these reflections in here a little bit and maybe taking the eye out. Let's just do this. Let's take the eye out of this corner and let's just darken all of this. You know, it could be just a little bit of reflection. Now that's going to strengthen this painting a little bit more. I might strengthen these darks in here just a little bit more. And I think, you know, overall, it's really nice. And so it's good. The buildings are beautiful. The rendering is beautiful. I think it's really good. Let's go to the color version of this. All right. So the color changes a lot of the perspective on things. I think that it feels to me like it needs a little bit of warmth. Excuse me. And it's very, very blue, and blue is very, very cool. But it looks like from the trees in the background, it's a sunny day. So if that's the case, and I'm going to just add a layer to this so that I can play with some things. But what if we could warm this up a little bit? I'm just going to take some warms and I'm going to, let's see here, reduce the transparency. And I'm just going to start filling in things with some warm color. See if this, maybe I get a little more transparency in here. Look what happens if I put some warms on these buildings. See how it changes the nature of it? You know, you want to have the shadows cool, but you get some warms in here and that makes a difference. If we can get some warms on this boat, and maybe not quite that warm, but that's okay. And that, what that does is it really makes it read like sunlight, daylight, and you know, you've got some spots where you've got some good warms and cools. I would say the roof line, I would look for a way to get a little bit of warmth in there because it's reflecting the sun. It's also reflecting the sky, but just getting some warmth in this painting will help it considerably. I suspect that you painted the boats the size that they actually are. I think if I wanted to make this painting really rock, I would change the color of the big boat. And I would make this big boat more of a red, because I think we could create some really fun intensity with this just by making this a different color. See how that changes it? It's possible you might even take some of that red over here, because I think what we're trying to do is to get some of this sense of blue everywhere out of here. Now you also want to get this yellow reflected into the water so that the light in the water is feeling warmer, and maybe a little of this reflected light in there. See how that changed that painting dramatically? Getting some warms on those lights, I think it really rocks it. And you can really make a big difference. But really pay close attention to warms and cools. I don't know what this red thing up here is on top of the boat. I'm just getting rid of that a little bit because I don't know what it means. But see how that changed everything? That just really is an excellent painting. Good job, Paula. All right, what do we have next? Now, this was my favorite painting of the bunch. And I don't mean to have favorite children. I apologize. Sean from Ohio. Sean Butler, congratulations. First off, I'm already going to give this an A+, right? You did a really terrific job on this. And so I like it a lot. And so let's look at the composition. First off, dead center. Well, we got a little bit of focal point stuff going on dead center here. I mean, there's no trees here, but it's kind of like this angle in here, this A shape. We talked about A-shaped compositions, and this really is an A-shaped composition, right? That could be. So, but I don't think that's egregious. We're going to go to equal thirds, and equal thirds is this would be a focal point or this would be a focal point. So I think what's happening is these two A-shaped trees are your focal point, and they're a little bit too centered for my taste. So I'd probably move these over just a little, something like that. But they're pretty good. Now, the other thing I would say is that you've done a good job of putting the light on the two things you want to draw attention to most. And these lights over here on all of these are reduced. And that's a very sophisticated technique. I think what's happening here is let's line up these bottoms of these trees. And that, okay. So this is a strong horizontal line, and that can work for you. So that could do it. But I would probably look for one tree. This tree here is the widest tree, and this tree is pretty wide. These trees are your focal point. So what I would probably do is I would probably strengthen one of these trees, bring it forward a little bit more, and make it a little bit bigger. Maybe not that big, but that way you can really make that stand out as being closer, and that could make a difference. But I'm being nitpicky here. Now, I want to talk about something else here. I'm going to go to the color version first. This execution, Sean, is lovely. Your colors are not garish. You've not overused your colors. Your greens are muted and feel really good. I think this is a pastel, but I can't really tell for sure. You've got kind of the Albert Handel thing going on with the leaves, which is lovely. And so there's a couple of things I want to point out to you. Number one is that this bright spot over here needs to go away. And why would I say that? Well, let's look at what happens when I just make this go away. You're not drawing the eye over there anymore. And I would even get that bright spot of that leaf gone away, because you don't want to draw the eye over to the edges of the painting. Maybe even these branches over here, they're pretty dark, but I would be careful about drawing the eye towards the edge. That changes everything. I like this transparent red oxide color in here, and I would just throw a little bit more of that in there in that dirt. I think it's really nice, and I might even look for a way to enhance that color just a little bit, just because it's so pleasing to the eye, that sense of dirt. And I think I like these leaves. I like the way the leaves are going, but you want to make sure that you're taking these leaves. This leaf line is going to the focal point. This leaf line, I'm not sure where it's going. So what if you took this leaf line and made it go like that? It might seem a little contrived, but let's just try it. Let's see what happens if we take that leaf line and see if we can get that color. We'll take that leaf line. And now, most people aren't even going to realize it, but what's happening is you're pointing me to that spot. And you could even take these and point me in a little bit. And these leaves could be pointing wherever you want the eye to go. You take these leaves and point them this direction. So instead of going like this, like you've done, go like that. And that way they're going to be driving you to the focal point. And those little things are subtle. Same with this branch here. This branch here, maybe what we want to do is have a branch that's driving me to the focal point. A lot of things you can do to play with it, but it's really, really lovely. And I think I would just say that it feels like the form is pretty good, but it feels like, I don't know what kind of trees these are, but I feel like I could just use a little tiny bit of color on these trees, just a little bit of sense, especially because they're in light. And so that might mean that, your trees don't absorb, don't reflect a whole lot of light. So you got to be careful with that. So these feel a little bit bright to me. Maybe not bright, but they just feel like they lack a little bit of color. So maybe we can just enhance that brightness in there. And I wouldn't do it everywhere, but I do it on these two trees, or especially on one tree. And then I think it's fine. Now, the other thing is you've got all these things going in the background, and be careful with those because they can point you in the wrong direction. Now, I want to point out one other thing is that a good painting oftentimes has, I'm just going to draw on here, has a strong vertical, a strong horizontal, and a strong angle. And then it has an arch that's kind of re-leading the eye in. It doesn't have to be in that order. It can be anywhere. But let's look at this and ask ourselves, where is the strong vertical? Well, the dominant vertical is this tree right here. And that means any other vertical cannot be as long or as big as that one. This one's not as, this one's not as, this one's not as. And this is what's called echoing. There's one back here that's echoing. There's kind of one over here that's echoing, and so on. And so that's really your strongest vertical. Where's your strongest angle? Well, your strongest angle, your most extreme angle is in here. These could be considered angles as well, and I think that works. But if you took one of these and made it a stronger angle, it might make it a little bit more interesting. Or you might just strengthen one of the angles back in here and make that really a dominant angle, and that would solve that issue. Now, where's your strong horizontal? Now, you could do it a couple of ways. First off, you could do your strong horizontal as a tree, a leaf line, right? And or a light line. You could do something like that. That's one thing to do. It doesn't have to be connected. It's something that will indicate. Or you could take a log and just lay a log down here and create a strong horizontal. Or maybe you take one of these logs back here. This is probably what I do, is I just create a strong horizontal in one spot back here and then put a little light on it. And now what's happening is you've got a strong horizontal and you've got a strong angle. And that then can give you just a little nitpicky, but this is really a good painting. This is also an A++. Good job on that, Sean. All right, what else do we have? We have composition. Okay, so we're going to talk about circle composition. We talk about these things a lot. We repeat them. Basically, a circle is, the idea is to get something that is the sense of a wide open space. It doesn't have to be exactly open. It can be anything. So if we go, for instance, to, let's say here, this is like a meadow, right? So you could have a big meadow here and a big open space. It doesn't have to be exactly like a circle, but the idea is to have that big open space that's kind of drawing your eye in. You could also do something like this, where you've got a circle pattern in the negative shapes, right? And the idea is, in this particular case, you've got all these different clouds that are framing out a circle. And so that's just a compositional trick you can try and play with it. Okay, so a couple of things I want to talk to you guys about real quickly. First off, next week is Pastel Live, and you do not want to miss it. We have some of the world's leading pastel artists. I'm going to be hosting this day. I'll be here in the Adirondacks in my 120-year-old art studio, and thankfully I haven't been here the whole 120 years, although I'm looking forward to that. So this is an incredible day. You don't want to miss it. Pastel Live online. If you cannot make the date, you can get the replays. But look at this faculty, and you might not be able to see them on your screen, but this is a world-class faculty and teaching some various techniques in landscape, portrait, and still life and everything else. So you do not want to miss this. And if you don't do pastel, you should attend anyway. It will make you a better painter overall. And pastel is probably the easiest medium to master without having to learn to mix colors and without having to learn to do a whole lot. So I would strongly recommend Pastel Live online. Go to pastellive.com. Hey, we have a free gift for you. We'd love to give you a gift if you're new here. It's 97 incredible art secrets from the world's finest artists. And it is incredible. This is a 2-hour video, samples of some of the videos we produced over the years. And it's free to you. You can watch it instantly. You can go there right now, 97artsecrets.com/ASL, and watch instantly. If you want a DVD version, we will send that to you as well for free, but you got to pay the shipping. All right. So that's going to be a few bucks. I highly recommend it. Okay. What else do we have? Oh, yeah. So picture this. This is an incredible scene. I experienced it last year. We're standing in a hotel lobby in St. Augustine, Florida. We're having our opening cocktail party and dinner, and there is a big screen TV in this hotel, and on the TV is the Weather Channel, and on the Weather Channel it says airports closed all around the country, ice and snow, and it shows these big massive clouds going over the whole country and this storm hitting the whole country. I had people who walked up to me when that was on. They said, I just barely got out, but I was able to get out before my airport was closed. We spent a week in St. Augustine painting with our feet in the sand and little pink umbrellas on our drinks and our summer clothes on, our shorts, our t-shirts. And we were painting in the dead of winter when everybody else was suffering. It was marvelous. And I designed this because people kept saying, hey, I want to be able to get out and paint in the winter. I don't want to paint in snow and ice all the time. I don't mind doing it once or twice. But by the time it's been gray and dark and gloomy and cold, and it's supposed to be, I was looking at the almanac, supposed to be an incredibly difficult winter, lots of storms. And so if it is, why not come? This year we're going to be in Hilton Head Island, 70, 75 degrees. And we're also going to be painting in Savannah. Basically, my retreats are this. It's 1 week. Everything's included. Your meals, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and you're eating with other friends, other artists. There's about 100 other artists there. And we're having a great time. We're laughing. We're getting to know each other. We're sitting up at night having drinks. We're doing music. We're doing portraits at night. And some people have never done portraits from live models. And it's so much fun. And so we're just doing all kinds of fun summer camp kinds of things, except it's in the winter and it's in warm weather. And we're going to be staying on the beach, a resort on the beach. It's going to be incredible. And we got a lot to paint. We got a lot of great paint spots picked out for you. So you do not want to miss Winter Art Escape. No drama, no chores, just painting for a week with me. You're going to make a lot of lifelong friends and you're going to be in the warm sun. But the key to this is you got to plan it now. If you plan it at the last minute, first off, it's likely to be sold out. Secondly, you've got to know that you're going to do this. You want to have something to look forward to. You need to treat yourself. You're spending your life taking care of other people. You're taking care of parents or elderly members of your family or kids or your husband or your wife. Or you're working all the time, or you're taking care, you're a caregiver for a husband or a wife, and you just need a break. This is going to give you the oxygen that you need to be able to live through the tough stuff that you have to live. Give yourself a break. Get somebody to take care of the dogs or the family, and come and reward yourself for a week. Just go to winterartescape.com. Well, guys, I hope you'll subscribe to this program, and I hope you'll go to YouTube, hit the subscribe button when you find Art School Live, and please forward this to other people. If you see something in there that you think somebody else needs to hear, Send it on. That's how we grow this thing. We love it when you subscribe. We love it when you share. And we love it when you give comments. And especially if you see something that was insightful for you, put it in the comments. That really helps. And please, please tell other people about it. We believe anybody can learn to paint. And my goal in life is, I set a goal to teach 1 million people to paint. And everybody said, that's a huge goal. And I even didn't believe it myself, right? But once I started telling myself this, I said, you know, I'm going to get there. And then I started believing it. Next thing you know, I've taught over 18 million people to paint. That is so cool to me. So what if we could teach 80 million or 100 million people? What if we could get everybody painting? Everybody's going to be so much happier. And especially the people who are like, I'd love to do that, but I don't believe I can do it. If you watch any 5 of these programs, any 5 of them where we're teaching painting, and we've got hundreds of thousands of them actually on YouTube. If you watch any of them, any 5 of them, you will get the confidence you need to know that you can do this, you can learn this, because painting isn't about natural talent, it's about a process. And if you can learn to follow a recipe, you can learn to paint. All right, hang in there, guys. Thanks for being here. I will see you at Pastel next week, Pastel Live next week. I will not be doing the show next week. I will have a guest host because I'll be busily working on Pastel Live. I'll be there. I think I'll be there on Monday doing Art Marketing Monday. Thanks again. Have a great weekend. I'm Eric Rhodes.